Tonight, in this great stadium, a new legend is born. You athletes are the heroes of that legend. Tonight, they cheer for you.
Well, it started way back. My parents lived in a suburb of Philadelphia, and then they moved into the city. And I used to volunteer during the summer at the Park Training Center in Philadelphia. And I'd mostly do sports with them and crafts. And then I got asked to take 4 girls to the first World Games that was held on July the 20th, 1968 at Soldiers Field in Chicago. And it all started from that because I always say Special Olympics is very contagious. You go to one event and you're hooked on it. Yeah. And I think I got hooked on it right there because I used to feel sorry we go around institutions and see how they were treating them, and very, very inhumanely, where they're all just as perfectly a human being and they need to be treated as a human being. And this is what got me started, that I like to work with them. And I like to see how much further can I get them to do things that people never thought they could do. It was quite interesting. I think one thing that stuck in my mind was a swimming pool they had out in the field. It's made out of wood and had, I don't know if it was a plastic or rubber lining, but there were more policemen lined up around it and lifeguards than there were athletes. They were so scared to death of drowning. And at that time, most of them were just walking across the pool and very little swimming, actually. Now they can swim Olympics. They can swim in different races, etc. When nobody thought they could in those days. Nobody was giving them a chance to see what they could do. Well, it was the next year, it started in Texas. And then we went to, I can't remember whether it was Waco or what the town was, but I think it was in Waco we had the first games. And I was teaching school. And so I took some athletes with us there. Well, I was teaching in New Braunfels when we first started, and we didn't have a track. So we had a place between the buildings, and I was using that for the track. So we had to make our own track, and then the principal let me go out and mark the field some. We put some weed killer down and marked the lanes to run in. But they were mostly just running 50 and 100 meter. We didn't have they didn't even have the long races in those days. And then I got married and I moved into San Antonio. And that's when I started teaching there. We had more facilities and more to do. And I remember Mrs. Shriver coming to one of the events there. But people weren't measuring the events like they do now with the meter and so forth like this. They were using their hands to measure. And Reuben had got put in jumping 5 meters. And he was so short, there was no way he could ever jump that much. But people were just guesstimating and not really doing as it's progressed so much more now, today. And then it was just track and field. Well, when it first started out, as I said, it was just track and field. And now it's grown into over 22 sports. And it is showing that our population can do anything a normal person, somebody else can do. And they can work in offices and things like that. When it first started, nobody ever believed they could do these things. And it has just developed so much throughout the world that lots of times you don't know a person is actually intellectually disabled. They're working just like a normal person and being treated like a normal person. And that's what's important. And we need to get out and involve it more in more things that they can do, because they're having, some of them are going to college. They have an organization, I think it's called Rainbow something, where money has been raised to put a lot of Down syndrome people with Down syndrome into college, where they're doing it and they're getting degrees, and they maybe associate arts degree, and there's several that have gotten a bachelor's degree, and they have one person that's working on a master's degree now. And people didn't think they could do that. Well, they can. Ooh, I'd have to count. I'd have to count that, because I've been to about 6 of them, World Games, and the last one I went to was in California. It's, Los Angeles was the last one I went to, and I went there as a VIP, not as a coach, but I went there as a VIP. And I got interested in going around watching the different sports to see how much it had expanded since the very first World Games. Parents don't have the money to pay for a lot of medical things that the athletes need. Hearing aids, particularly, is one of a very expensive thing. I know my son got fitted with 2 hearing aids way back, and his right ear is deaf. I mean, he couldn't hear of it, but they thought maybe if they'd give him 2 hearing aids, maybe that right ear would develop some hearing. And then later he had to have a cochlear implant put in. But he has been given some hearing aids about every 3 to 4 years, where I don't have the money to put out $3,000 or $4,000 frequently. And it's been helpful for them. Many of our athletes have such poor hearing, it prevents them from learning. But with getting some hearing aids, they are able to learn better. Glasses is another thing. That's Medicare and Medicaid only pay for cheaper glasses. They don't pay for ones bifocals and things like this that they need. And this way it is helping them. Without their glasses, they can't see properly. They can't see things that they need to do in jobs and read and things like this. So there are many areas, and they have a dental program where one time at one of the national games, they had dental chairs up on the stage in an auditorium, and they were filling teeth and fixing teeth for them. And Ruben got a couple of teeth filled then too, and it's all free. I think one of the things is Special Olympics is extremely rewarding to see the progress people make, to see things that they're able to do, and getting them involved and to keep them involved sometimes is hard to do because they have jobs, families, things like that. But once we get somebody really into it, then they want to do more. They want to do more and more, and have them work in other things around with the athletes. Have them do things with the athletes, take them somewhere besides Special Olympics and get them involved. And the more they see them being involved around the public, the more you want to help them.